So apparently, comedian Kerry Holcomb is catching some blowback because he says he doesn't think Dave Chappelle is a top tier comedian. What do I think about that? I agree with him. Chappelle has some compelling lines and some stuff, but he's kind of like he's like when Richard Pryor was trying to be like Bill Cosby in the '60s. That's kind of how I look at Chappelle. He story tells and he has some punchlines, but it's the way it's done is that it's structured in a way that it doesn't necessarily hit you in where it's going. Um, he has a lot of different perils that he goes through, but he seesaws, but I never get to the depth. I'm very insulted when people try to say he's a modern day Richard Pryor. Y'all don't know nothing about no comedy, and y'all ain't growing no Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor could make a face or put on one of his voices like, you know, I'll tell you something. He could have you in stitches. I've never felt the way about Chappelle. Chappelle's skits were on point, but how much of it was Charlie Murphy ghostwriting or Richard Pryor's right hand man Paul Mooney? See, the thing about Chappelle is kind of blurry about how the depths and the magnitude. Yeah, he's had catchphrases. Yeah, he's had iconic moments. But the Rick James, Prince, R. Kelly thing were part of what blew him up. But how much was it like his he where you're into it? He's a deep thinker. You know, if you want to use a quasi part of Pryor, Bill Cosby, George Carlin aesthetic with a knock of Lenny Bruce and a couple others, I know what school he's coming through with what he does. But I've never felt him to be like this comedian that I'm like, oh, he's like that dude. But compared to what you got out here, his intellectualization of it is far more compelling. Cat Williams is entertaining for when he's name dropping, when he sits on Club Shay Shay in some parts, but I wouldn't compare him funny. I think he's vulgar, but he's interesting for what he talks about. But is he funny? No. And Kevin Hart, one trick pony. You know, it's kind of like watching our game with buckwheat and stuff. If he don't make a face or roll his eyes or something, I mean, it's not what I call. There was a level to black comedians back in the day that it wasn't just the language, but it was also the aesthetics and characters and building on something. Pats don't really do that. Chappelle is like a strategist. It's like going to a Wall Street meeting or power lunch meeting or Fortune 500 or AI meeting or something on the Zoom. And he'll tell a joke randomly and then he'll have a storyline. But as far as like where I sit there and go, this guy is so deep and so profound, I